name is Zachariah. I want to welcome each of you to our spring symposium for the Center for Supply Chain Research here at Lehigh University. We've got a fantastic group of keynote speakers who are going to join us in addressing the theme, building a resilient and enduring supply chain.
You know, I'm going to get my screen share thing going here real quick. And I'm hoping everybody can see it now. What I'm going to talk about today is how Land O'Lakes has been making it through this pandemic. So who is Land O'Lakes? I think when I asked that question, and if I was there and I could hear people, they would say, you're the butter company. So what happened during this pandemic? How did we get there? We got there partly because the world has become a significantly more connected place. And not only the world, but supply chains. There's no better time for us as supply chain professionals to raise the stature of what supply chain is. Work in your ecosystems to partner and build and collaborate together. Build the infrastructure that allows you to be both agile and resilient. Not that you don't care about costs, because we do. As companies, we have to make money, right? But if you're not agile and resilient in today's disrupted world, you're not going to make any money.
I'll share out my screen here, and we'll get this going. I think we have some interesting information for the group today, the students as well as the professionals that are involved. There's a number of things, again, that Yone highlighted that really have become paramount in all of our considerations. Certainly labor and raw materials are two of them, and we're going to expand on that as the presentation goes along. As a result of these supply chain disruptions, demand is exceeding supply for goods and services.
We've taken 40 to 50 years to get ourselves into a situation where it gives us an opportunity to rethink how supply chains need to function as we go forward into this new century and the centuries beyond.
The accurate and truthful transformation of information to cash via technologies such as blockchain, often referred to as distributed ledger, allows companies to unearth data which is not being utilized and making it a trusted and immutable source.
What I'm going to do is share my screen. I work in product management at Alemica. And you know, what we do is we help manufacturing companies automate, digitize their supply chains. You know, some drivers for reshoring, and we've seen that occur. You know, made in America. You know, Walmart drove a lot of manufacturing out of the country. Now there are some drives to bring it back in. There's national security impacts, and we see with the pandemic that. When you have a centralized supply chain that relies on these long transportation legs, that you know, we're not carrying enough safety stock, something happens and the whole system, you know, gets out of balance. So if you have a centralized supply chain that relies on ports, and those ports are getting flooded and destroyed as the oceans rise, you know, that's gonna cause a problem. So you know, I think more and more organizations are going to see the need to keep everything sort of within their shore. Some of the things that we're driving work from home, you know, planners being sick, order pickers being sick, operators being sick and going into quarantine, you know, and this has continued even though we're opening up. You know, we still have you know, the Delta variant and different variants coming around. People are still uncomfortable going back to work. These are some of the benefits of a digitized supply chain. You know, at the base level, if you have data flowing from one system to another and you're translating the information correctly, you're going to have, you know, less effort, fewer errors. People can be focused on higher value tasks like you know, driving better customer satisfaction.
Now it's good. Okay. Reshoring is happening and how to benefit from the trend. So the fact that it's happening means it's feasible that your company can at least, it's worth your while to do the evaluation and see if it makes sense to reshore some. The country should be basically self-sufficient is equally true today. At best, the amount of output has about plateaued the last 10 or 20 years. Manufacturing share of nominal GDP is down about 50%. But it's not because we don't consume goods anymore. We're described as a services society, but we've maintained a great tradition of consumption of goods. Employment have declined from 27% to about 8 or 9%. So it's fallen dramatically, which has hollowed out the middle class and done all these other horrible things that we all hear about all the time. And this doesn't have to happen. The other developed countries like Germany have manufacturing at, say, 22% of their total employment rather than 9% that we have. That US price on average is about 1.4 times China price. So
now, I'm going to keep things quite visual, as you can probably tell. So please stop me anytime if you have any questions. How can you create a system where your workforce wants to work for you? The simple solution, or the obvious solution, is equality. Everyone gets the same amount of water, that is 1 gallon. However, what happens if, say, we only have 4 people who know how to read a map? Or what if we have a group of people over here who are carrying all of our stuff and another group that is just made up of children riding camels? Right. Do they still all deserve or need the same amount of water? Now, the question I'm getting at here is, what does it mean to be fair when individuals differ in their preferences, their needs, and their contributions? See, in any of these scenarios, there's a bunch of different stakeholders who are going to hold conflicting definitions of what it actually means to be fair. Now, when you see the word fair, you'll often see things like justice, equality, equity, all these words thrown out as synonyms. And what I hope is that by the end of the talk, I will convince you that there's value in being a little more precise about this language. Okay, so what is organizational justice? There's really 3 different dimensions. We have distributive, procedural, interactional. I'm going to focus in on distributive. That is how we allocate things.
I'm going to give it a whirl here and see if I can share my screen. I believe it accelerated trends that were already there and were already happening and brewing, and maybe it would take us a few more years to get there, but we have some fundamental supply chain problems in the United States today, and I'll talk a little bit about how I believe we can resolve those things. We're in Dalton, Georgia, and that's the home of all flooring in the United States. And we're wholly owned by Berkshire Hathaway. So we're one of these 100% owned companies of Warren Buffett. And again, we have about 80 plus manufacturing and distribution facilities. At the Port of Savannah, we have about 4 million square feet of warehouse space, right, virtually within 5 miles of a port. At some point in the past, we were able to move quite a bit of product and have quite a bit of kind of integrated supply chains across the globe. And quite frankly, nobody even thought about it. Nobody even talked about it. It wasn't a topic of conversation. Now, of course, it's boardroom kind of conversation. And how did we get there? If you put a machine in, you load a machine in, generally that replaces labor. It's the old capital versus labor trade-off. Trucking is one of the few industries where you don't have that option. I've actually purchased my own containers just to get product here in the United States. And so infrastructure is the issue, and it's the reason why this is going to be here for a while.
All right, there we go. How to build a resilient supply chain is really, we should have talked about this in 2019, Zach, because it was a lot easier to do. March 2020, everybody went into hiding. In the ocean side of things, we had immediate problems with nobody wanted to do anything for 3 months. This picture is 6 weeks old. There's double the ships that are represented by these little green dots. There's double the ships today than is on this picture. It's up to 600, I think 675,000 TEUs. Now we're talking about 35% in September higher dwell times than normal. We have just in time inside the four walls of the United States. Even close as Mexico or Canada, just in time is maybe called just in case.
Thank you all. I think this was a fantastic session. Next conference, which will be, April the 22nd, Friday. Again, I'm hoping that this will be a in-person conference. Today, I think we heard a lot about how, the supply chain has really been stretched. There's a lot of disruptions going on. And my sense is from all the speakers that it's not going to improve much even the first or even possibly second quarter. So there's a lot of information that, we can see that is going on. Finish with thanking all of you, and please respond to the survey when it does come out. And hopefully, I look forward to seeing you all in April. So have a wonderful weekend.